I don't think Josh McDaniels is going to be the fall guy here. I know that's the easy solution, and everyone's saying Josh McDaniels has got to go. Josh McDaniels has got to go. There's issues there in that locker room that clearly are popping up, and now you've got Derek Carr going to a podium.
Let me Brady Quinn you. Hold on, Jonas. Hold on, Jonas. Josh McDaniels added losing to a coach that has no experience and came off of the street to coach the team.
And also, by the way, this was against the Colts, who tried to hire Josh McDaniels, and he walked away from the job a few years ago. A lot of irony in that whole
I'm just
discussion.
saying, and I said this at the beginning of the show, but I did not, however, take the other side of the conversation. I basically said there's one or two things, and I talked about the second, which was Jeff Saturday had a plan, executed the plan, and now he's manifesting his plan. The other side of it is that you got to fire your head coach immediately if you're the Las Vegas Raiders.
Really?
You have to fire him immediately. If you can allow a coach to come off of the street, a guy. Wait, let me rephrase this. If you can allow a media guy that used to play ball come off of the street. Now, talking about all of the outrage and this is egregious and this is an abomination and all these things that people are saying about Jim Irsay hiring Jeff Saturday, if all of those things are true, then Josh McDaniels is the first victim in allowing a non-qualified person to come in and whoop a qualified person's ass. Yes? And he's got to go.
Yeah. If
all intents and purposes, everybody who loses to Jeff Saturday needs to lose their job immediately.
Yeah.
Because you're not qualified to coach if you're letting someone who has no experience and has had zero time sitting behind and learning and doing the process and waiting and all these other things that everybody's upset about. Every coach that loses needs to be fired. How about that?
I wonder.
How about them apples?
Yeah. I wonder if a lot of the players in that locker room were really bothered that Rich Bisaccia was not given an opportunity to keep that job as head coach of the Raiders, and decided, or not decided, but came into this year with Josh McDaniels thinking, why didn't we just stick with the guy we had? Like, those were difficult circumstances last year.
Pros have no time to dwell on those things. We're too far in the season for that to be what a pro would be. I'm going to not play hard, or I'm not, like, we should have kept our coach from before.
So what do you think the problem is then? Do you think it's the head coach, or do you think it's...
First off, it is, whenever you have so many different changes take place, it has to be management. It has to be the culture of the corporation, the culture of the company. That is the reason why. Now, where that disconnect is and why, I don't know, but you do know we saw what took place with Gruden and everything, how that all played out, and there could have been, workplace issues that could have arose from the what are they? The Raiders. That's right.
Yeah.
From the Raiders organization. So to me, I'm thinking it's higher up than that. But again, higher up, you're not making changes. You're not changing an owner. The culture is the culture as long as the people who have created the culture are there. So now, within the culture, you're asking anyone who comes in there, GM, marketers and advertisers, the media, the GM, the coaches, the players, you're asking everyone who comes into this culture to be able to make that culture a successful culture in terms of the product that you're producing. And how do you do that, knowing that if you do those things, and it could be that the culture has to change in order for the product to change. Go figure. Blow your mind on that one, right? So if the culture isn't changing, but you're changing the GM, you're changing the coach, you're changing the players, but you continue to get the same results, it's easy to track to where it is where the problem exists. But again, my question now becomes, or my statement is, since we had all of this outrage and all of these people upset about what Jeff Saturday's hiring represented and Jim Irsay being irresponsible and being egregious and all that, he just beat Josh McDaniels.
Yeah.
His team just beat Josh McDaniels. So now you got a upset, pissed off, emotional Carr in his press conference saying that he wishes people wanted to be here as badly as he did, this and that and the other. You have arguably the best receiver, top 3 receiver in the National Football League, and from all things I can see, he's healthy, and you're still getting messed up results. You have no more excuses.
So here's where the conversation's going to go, and I can already guarantee you this discussion's going to be had. When the Jeff Saturday discussion comes up, the people that were so down on the hiring of Jeff Saturday are going to say, well, it was the Raiders. All right, so that's one part of the conversation. That's going to be their out. Well, it's the Raiders. Let's see what happens next week. Let's see what happens the rest of the way. This isn't sustainable the way Jeff Saturday was brought in. So that's that part of the conversation. When it comes to the Raiders, at some point, you talk about the constant, because there's been a bunch of coaching changes. Well, like one of the constants has been Derek Carr. And I don't think this has anything to do so much with Derek Carr as a player, because I think Derek Carr is a good quarterback. I just wonder whether or not guys in that locker room buy into him. Like whether or not guys in the locker room are like, okay. And now that you've got him calling out players and emotionally doing so afterwards, I wonder how that's going to land with some of these players in the locker room.
I just, listen, first of all, if I'm a player in that locker room, I'm embarrassed that we just lost to a dude that got hired off of the street, and he hasn't been in for more than, 7 days?
Yeah, a few days.
Something right?
Like that, yeah.
And goes and comes out and they win. That, first of all, that's embarrassing. Secondly, if I'm on that team, I am 100% trying to figure out why the hell are we losing and we have Devontae Adams. Like, I don't get it. We got Carr, we got Adams. We got a pretty good defense. You got Max Crosby. You got all these different dudes that are pretty freaking good players. Like, this was, again,
Josh Jacobs having a good year.
Man, we were talking about this being a conference where all 4 teams could possibly make it into the playoffs. All 4. And now they are like cellar dwelling. Like they're catfish. They should be called the Las Vegas Catfish. Because they're scavenging off of the bottom. They're not going and getting it and creating their own food. They are creating their own food because they're scavenging off of the bottom. To me, it is confusing. It is confusing to see how poorly this team is playing, especially with all of the excitement of the brilliant mind of Josh McDaniels coming in to be a part of your organization as the coach. I don't think this is a matter of they don't buy into Carr. I think this is a matter of like trying to figure out where like you said, where the breakdown in communication exists. Because to have all that talent, to be able to be in games and actually have games won, they're like literally a quarter and a half away from having an opposite conversation take place on this team.
They're 0-6 in one-score games.
There you go.